purpose of brainwave entrainment meditation is you're learning how to balance the two hemispheres of your brain. My theory is not just my theory, but for the individual ego to experience God realization, you have to have a full balance of the two hemispheres of the brain. So remember earlier you were talking about the pineal gland and DMT and all that stuff that would have to occur for something like that to happen. Well, that also includes the balancing of the two hemispheres of the brain. Two people can take DMT, right, and not have and have a peak experience and not have God realization, only because one person smoked DMT. They've never trained their brain to become equally balanced in both hemispheres, while the other one did. And the person who has a more balanced, dual hemisphere is going to have a higher chance of reaching God realization, because to have God realization requires the balance of the two hemispheres of the brain. Not only does it do that, but when you balance out the two hemispheres of your brain over a long period of time, you start to see everything in your reality as balanced and as harmonious. So you no longer play the game of black and white, right? I don't have much preferences. I just see stuff, right? Where before the synchronization of the two hemispheres of the brain, you choose a side. Well, I still choose sides only because I'm just having fun as being Morgan, but my inner self doesn't care about sides. So for a person to have a full spiritual enlightenment experience all the way up to absolute monism, one of the reasons is because you're balancing out the two hemispheres of the brain. The other thing that happens is Yinnergy is a low carrier frequency technology. Lower carrier frequencies purges your nadis. So nadis are spelled as NADIS. Nadis are the psychic channels that within the subtle body, and the psychic channels are connected to your chakras and all that stuff. All that stuff needs to be purged so that when Kundalini energy is moving up the spine, from the tailbone of the spine and moving up to the spine, and is going through all the nerves and all the meridians and all the nadis, that has to occur. So what happens, that stuff, all the karmic goop, so this is where we come to karma again. All the karmic goop is accumulation of all the stuff that you accumulated through trauma. Not just trauma, but also through excitement and all that stuff, too, orgasm, everything. All the stuff you've ever experienced, your nervous system goes through a certain level of trauma, and what happens is that gets caught in the channels of the nadis. So Yinnergy helps to purge that stuff out of the nadis, and that happens to the low carrier frequencies that are being used. And I would have to talk about that another day, what that is. But what that does is it purifies the channels that are attached to the spine, all the way up to the brainstem. So when you listen to the sound affects the brainstem, and that resonates with the spine, and that vibration is affecting the nerve endings, the nerves that are traveling through all parts of your body, that gives you the sensation of who you are through feeling, smell, touch, taste, hearing, all that stuff. That's all happening through your nerves. So it's clear, it's purifying all that stuff so that it allows the energy, the Kundalini energy, to travel up the spine, so that you can end up having Kundalini awakening. Now, remember I said earlier that everything's Kundalini, but if we're breaking the stuff up, there is a difference between a Kundalini awakening versus a spiritual awakening. Those are two different things. Even though I'm saying that everything is Kundalini, but if we're going to be specific, a Kundalini awakening, at least from a traditional standpoint, is different from a spiritual awakening. But one can also have both at the same time, right? So for a Kundalini awakening to happen, your nadis has to be purified, because a Kundalini awakening has to do with your gross body as well. And the gross body has to be able to handle the energy that's traveling up through, that's coming from the subtle bodies, for that to occur through your physical body. So the nadis would have to be purified, because if not, your physical body would take a beating. And also too, that's where people will start to experience psychosis, and you don't want that. You want to have a Kundalini awakening, that where you experience the divine. This is where you get to experience yoga. I'm not talking about yoga, the actual practice, even though the actual practice is the preparation of yoga, right? So you want to experience yoga. Yoga means yoking with the divine, and that could happen when you purify the nadis. So those are two of the things. There are many other things that are happening, but the balancing of the two hemispheres of the brain and the purification of the nadis are two of the things that are happening within the brain. But also too, because remember the energy is vibrating through the spinal column, which also is connected to the spinal fluid that's in the body. That also it plays a role in Kundalini process and all that. The pineal gland, the lungs plays a role in that. Everything in your body plays a role in that. So when you have a Kundalini awakening, you realize that everything in your body plays a role of a Kundalini awakening to take place. So it's not just the things that you mentioned, the whole entire body. This is why weightlifting is important. Cardio is important. Proper diet is important, because all that stuff plays a role in having a healthy and a clean Kundalini awakening.